So in our initial video, we looked at how to create a Google business profile and also how to use Google Docs. If you've not watched one of those, then the links are in the description or in the pop-ups above. Now, one other interesting Google application that you should get using or that you should understand how it works is Google Forms. So as usual, log into your Google account, go to the app section and choose Forms. Forms help you capture information from your viewers, maybe your audience or any other person whose contact information you have. So if we open Google Forms homepage, you can create a blank form where you're the one who dictates what's going to be within the form. You can create a contact information, party invite, and RSVP. So let's take the most commonly used form type, which is contact information. When I click on this, what I can do here is I can create a certain number of questions and then share it with my audience and maybe pick answers. I can perform a survey, on a topic or maybe on a product that I'm currently selling. So once you're in this section, you do have the option to edit every section depending on your preference. So if I go to this contact information, for instance, I can edit this title. So maybe I can type something that is related to what I'm currently doing. So if I didn't have that, I would just type something like test and remove the other part. So let me remove the part. So test form, for instance. After typing test form, I can type the description. Maybe something like I need something like customer feedback. Then I'll format that later if I wish to. So this is a repetition, so we'll remove the last part. Then like I said, I can make this bold. Just make it a little bit more popping up. Then the other thing that I can do in this section, I can add a link. So if I want this to be linked elsewhere so that when somebody clicks on it, they can be redirected to a different page, I can do that. I can add numbers. If I had maybe options, a list of description options, then I'll use that and put them as a list, and either bulleted or numbered list. Now, once you've done that, you'll require the customer name. These are fields that you can delete if you wish to. You notice that when you click on a field, you have the button option to delete or duplicate it. Means you can recreate this and edit the title and maybe give your response, leave the response section over here. Now, the other thing with the Google Forms is that you can always dictate the kind of response that you get. So if you look at this part, we have the short answer, but in the drop down, you have options there. Do you want to choose multi-choice? You want to add text boxes? Check boxes. Do you want to add drop down? Like here, option 1, option 2. You choose, then that is going to change depending on what you want. If you want somebody to upload a file, you can do that as well in this field. So if I said upload a file, then it means you can see let respondents upload files to Drive. So if you need like a photo, or maybe you are offering, maybe you wanted some feedback on a certain product and you wanted to show the product they bought or maybe the service they received, then they'll be able to upload a photo there. So if I add that, somebody will upload their file. I only allow only specific file types. If you maybe want only JPEG or PNG, or maybe you want an MP4 file, all depends. You can dictate the number of files that can be added here and the size. So say the list at least 1 MB. If it's for photos, for videos, you can short videos, you can go to 10 MBs, long videos maybe up to 100. But it all depends on what you prefer. So if I say allow only specific files, then it means I'll have to look at file types, a video, an image, so that when I ask for an image and somebody tries uploading a video, then it means that the upload will be rejected. so that it's also good to be specific. So we just take a video for instance. So if I needed to change what I have in this section, I have very many options here. So it's up to you to choose what you want. Short answer, a paragraph for an explanation, like we've said, multi-choice. You want to give options for them to select. Then you have text, check boxes, drop down, and file upload. So those are the commonly used. So once I'm done with that section, I'll leave it like that. Then I'll scroll down to the next section. Email. If I wanted an email, well and good, I would add an email there if I wanted to collect customer email, for instance. So let's say I was sharing this in social media and expect to maybe collect some feedback, or maybe just do a research on a certain product and find interested person. By adding this section here, I'll be able to collect their email addresses and maybe use them later, only through their consent, that is. I'll use them later to send them maybe more information on the same topic that I'd researched about, or I can also send them offers if they've shown interest in whatever service or product I was offering them. So that is normally one importance of adding an email. So you add the option for an email, then you can add a short answer, because the email format accepts short response. If you are collecting addresses, you can add an address, and you can also maybe decide to make it optional. So if you want to make it optional, you can turn off the required, then address becomes optional. If you turn this on, it means they'll not be able to provide a response without providing an address or an email address or a name. So that's how it works out. So if you want to make it optional, like you said, you turn this required off, so that when they reach that section, they can either enter the required information or they can skip. Then you have fun in that. Now, like we have said, if you want more sections, you can always duplicate an already existing section like this here, duplicate it and enter the required information. So if I duplicate that, you notice that the titles remain the same, so I can edit the contents here. And then if I do not want to duplicate, maybe just want to create a fresh one or a new one, there is this toolbar on the left hand side where you can add question, you can import questions, maybe add title and description and all that, image, video, and so if I wanted to add a new question, I didn't want to duplicate what I already have, I just tap on that and then it will appear. Now this appears blank compared to what I duplicated before. So I am the one who's going to enter what I need in this section here. Then I'll also add options. If I want to have like maybe 5 options, like let's say maybe how many times do you shop online, for instance, shop online. So if I take that, let me recorrect that. So how many times do you shop online? So I'll put that as a question. Let me capitalize this. Then now in my we have the option sections. I have option 1. Then I can add another option. Option 2. Now this is other option, but if I wanted just another option here, so I have option 1 there, then I can add another option 2, option 3. Then in my options, I'll say something like once, 3 to 4 times. Maybe let's make this 2 because the first one was a once. Then something like more than 5 times. So you're asking for the number of times this person normally buys online a month. So we can add that additional information here: once a month, 2 to 4 times a month, 5 times a month. So then this person will be able to select. So you can also add the other option. So by if you go to this, let me remove this first. Then once I've added up to option 4, or maybe remove option 4 too, I can add other. And now this means that the user, or maybe the person who is filling your form, will enter their own maybe specific description, or maybe the number of times they shop online, or maybe never, if you're not included never in your options here. But it's also another option that you can do here. Then you can also make this required or optional. So if I make it required, means they have to choose something from that section. So you'll have set that up. Now once you're done with your form, you can always get responses. I mean, you can track it from this section here. So if you have created your form and shared it, if I say send, I'll have the option to share this form via email, copy the link, or embed it on a website, or you want to embed it on just your social platform. If you have the options to embed it, the most used options are email. If you want to send it to quite a number of people, it won't be a good idea to do it from here. You'd have to copy the link to this, which can be shortened. So if I shorten that URL and copy it and then share it, so I'm going to try and open this with a different Chrome profile and see what works and how that goes. So if I paste my form here and search, you'll notice that the person who visits this form will have a different preview of this form. Now this is how the form usually looks like. So this is the first part. It shows the email that you are logged in with here. So then you'll enter your name. Now this appears this way because remember we selected upload file instead of type. So if I wanted to maybe add upload file, I'll edit this on the other end. So I'll add file. So email address, you'll type your email, select address. So you see, this is what I was trying to explain before. If you make the section required, the user must enter it to continue. If they don't, they'll get this warning here. For the address section, I can skip it because I made it optional. So you notice that it doesn't bring any errors if I skip it. The phone. Now this is also going to show you as you have to answer it. You notice that because we made it as required. So here, this is the option to give multiple choice. You can select. So this is what we created on the other end, and you see how it shows here. Once this person is done, if they have any comments, they can add, and it is optional. If they want to remove, they can clear. But once you're done filling this form, they can submit. Now, if my form had 2 pages, then it would show, or they'd go to the next page, finish filling up the Google Forms, and then submit the answer. So let's go back to the form that we were just creating. So let's cancel that first. So in this section here, if I add more information here, I would add it. Then there's something we were trying to look at. Once you have shared your email, I mean your form via email or via the link on social media, or maybe embedding it on your website, you can always track the responses here. So you accept responses, yeah, then they'll appear here, plus the collected email addresses and all that. Then under settings, in this case, you have the options to actually make a few tweaks here and there on your form. So if we start from the top, make this a quiz, points, value, set answers, automatically provide feedback. So if you want to maybe share like a message to the participant later after they're done filling the form, maybe congratulating them on taking their time, maybe appreciating their time trying to fill your form of provide their feedback, then you can turn this on and do a few setups. So if we set that, what do you want to do? Release grades, maybe if it was a test, correct answers, point values. If you had questions that needed answers, and maybe there were multiple options and some were wrong, then you can send them correct answers or send them their responses in their inbox through the provided email address. Now, this is a very important aspect Remember when we were setting this up, we talked about collecting email addresses so that you can send marketing emails, through their consent, and you can also maybe just appreciate them. So you'll go to settings and you have to turn this on, collect emails. Okay, send responses or a copy of response, turn that on always or when requested. Then you have allow response editing, require sign in, and then you have that option. This is now the maximum file upload. Remember on the other end we selected 10 MBs, 10 MBs or 1 MB because it was an image. So you can have a maximum size of file that can be uploaded in your forms. If you expand this, you'll see you have a show progress bar for the responses. If I turn this on, so we're just going to do this setup and then we'll preview it on the other end. Shuffle question order, we are not doing that. Thanks for submitting your contact info. Do you want to turn this on? That is all okay. And then now we have disable autosave for all responders. If you disable autosave, then it means that if your customer leaves the page, or maybe they have something like a power outage when filling a form, then it means everything will disappear. So sometimes it's good to leave the autosave on. Expand the defaults. Collect email addresses by default. Now this is a general setting. It means that every time you create your forms, you don't have to edit the settings or the option to collect email addresses. But if you don't turn this on, it means every time you create a form, you'll have to come back to the responses section and turn on collect email addresses. It is usually important to just leave this off because you want to be collecting emails all the time, and now depends on your interest actually. But if you are the kind of person who would like to do that, then there's no harm in turning this on. But you should note that it is important to only send marketing emails to people who accept such kind of emails or give you the consent. Otherwise you could find people unsubscribing from your email list, or maybe have legal issues for region where such things are taken seriously. The questions defaultness, questions required by default, and now this is not important, so you can make some other questions optional. So once you're done with that, like we've said, you can send. So for now we are going to review the changes that we have made on the progress bar. So if I tap on view now, this is what it will look like. So if I take, for instance, select this and maybe fill some other things here I'm supposed to get. So let's choose a different email. I do not want to type that, but you notice that it is automatically saved. Anything you type is automatically saved. So this is the progress bar. We only have one page. If you had 2 pages, then it would appear as page 1 out of page 2. If I look at what I had created before, this has not been changed. You notice that we don't have a progress bar here, but on this other one we have a progress bar showing the number of pages, maybe more details on your forms and what the visitor or the user is expected to submit or add. So that's all on using Google Forms. Like I said before, if you haven't learned how to use Google Docs to create your text documents, and you've also not created a Google Business account, all the links to these videos appear in the description or pop up above.